ChatGPT tier list is back. Alright, we got challenge, perk, purist, survivor tier list, rules, rank all survivors based only on their unique perks, not their lore skins or how good they look. Ignore meta value outside of perks like body models, hitboxes, etc. Base your ranking on how useful the perks are without combining them with other perks. Ooh, okay. Consider both solo queue and survivor trends viability.
Okay.
Alright, starting off we got Dwight. Now Dwight's eligible perks are Bond, Prove Thyself, and Leader. All actually very solid perks to be honest, especially Prove Thyself. It helps quite a lot in gen rushing. Leader, little bit of a letdown perk in my opinion, it's kind of meh. Bond is actually also very good perk. So I guess all around I'll put this guy up there in A tier. Next up we got Meg. Now Meg's teachables are Adrenaline, Sperm Burst, and Quick and Quiet. Adrenaline and Sperm Burst, they are absolutely god tier perks. I use Adrenaline every single time. Amazingly strong perks. Quick and Quiet isn't as strong as Sperm Burst or Adrenaline, but it's still very decent. So I'm gonna put Meg up there straight up in S tier. Next up we got Claude. Now Claude's teachable perks are Self-Care, Botany Knowledge, and Empathy. To be honest, her teachable perks aren't as good as they used to be back in the OG days, like Self-Care for example, it's just terrible nowadays. Empathy, average perk to be quite frankly honest, and Botany Knowledge, decent perk I guess, but all around nothing too crazy, so I'm gonna put her up there in B tier. Next up we got Jake. Now Jake's teachable perks consist of Calm Spirit, Saboteur, and Iron Will. Now to be honest, the best perk he has is Iron Will. All around incredibly good perk, absolutely 10 out of 10. But Saboteur, little bit of a letdown nowadays. It's kind of meh unless you're running a full Sabo build. That's the only time you're ever gonna use it. Calm Spirit, again, it's not really a perk that's honestly gonna be quite of use to you. So I guess I will put this guy up there next to Claude in B tier. Next up we got Nia. Now Nia's teachable perks are Balanced Landing, Urban Immersion, and Streetwise. All around very decent perks. To be honest, the best one she has is Balanced Landing. However, I do feel like Streetwise and Urban Immersion is a little bit of a letdown perk. They really aren't that strong at all, to be honest. So I guess I will put her up there in B tier next to Claude and Jake. Next up we got Lori. Now Lori's teachable perks, we got Decisive, Object of Obsession, and Soul Survivor. Realistically here, I'm saying it off the bat, the only good perk that she has left is Decisive. Object of Obsession and Soul Survivor, they are absolutely terrible. Object used to be good back in the OG days, but the moment it got nerfed, it has been in the bottom of the pile for years now, and I don't think it's changing anytime soon. Soul Survivor, well, there's not really much to say about that. It's a terrible perk, never really been good. So I guess because of that, I think I will put Lori up there in C tier. Next up we got Ace. Now Ace teachable perks, we got Up the Ante, Ace in the Hole, and Open Handed. His perks are kind of useless unless you're going item hunting, which even if you are, you probably have to combine them with plunders, and with ChatGPT I can't really combine perks. I have to rate them based on how good they are alone. So based on that, sorry Ace, but you have to going straight up there in D tier. Next up we got Bill. Now Bill's featured perks, we got Unbreakable, Borrow Time, and Left Behind. Unbreakable is an absolutely solid perk on by itself. It's insanely good value, definitely S tier worthy of a perk. However, Borrow Time and Left Behind aren't really as good. I would say BT is still a lot better than Left Behind. Like Left Behind is just trash, absolutely useless in my opinion. But all around, I think this guy does have some solid perks. So because of that, I'm gonna put this guy up there in A tier. Right, quick change before we continue here. I'm gonna put Dwight up there in S tier next to Meg, just because I think I was a little bit too harsh when ranking him. I feel like Prove Thyself and Bond are very good solo. And I'm gonna also put Jake up there in A tier next to Bill.
Nice.
Right, moving on, we got Feng. Now Feng's teachable perks, we got Technician, Lithe, and Alert. Now realistically, the best perk she has is Lithe. Lithe is an absolutely S tier worthy of a perk. Technician and Alert on the other hand, they're not bad. Alert isn't really that strong of a perk in my opinion. It just basically allows you to see the killer's aura whenever he breaks a gen or a pallet or a breakable wall. So not really that strong. Technician on the other hand makes it silent if you hit a skill check. So because of that, I will put her up there in B tier. Next up, we got David. Now, David's strategic perks consist of Dead Hard, No Minder, and We're Gonna Live Forever. Realistically, the best perk he has is Dead Hard. I feel like No Minder and We're Gonna Live Forever are very weak, I guess you can say. We're Gonna Live Forever, I'm pretty sure gives you like 100% extra healing speed, and No Minder grants you the ability to bring yourself back out from the dying state, but you will be broken for the whole match and the killer will see that you have No Minder, so it's kind of useless. So, because of that, I'm gonna put this guy next to Lori in C tier. Next up, we got Quentin. Next up, we got Detective Tap. Now, his perks are Detective's Hunch, Tenacity, and Stakeout. Detective's Hunch isn't really that useful if you know the map quite well. Like, it can be very good if you still have to learn the maps and stuff. So, whenever you finish a generator, you can see the auras of chest and generators close to you. And for Tenacity, well, it just makes you crawl much faster. So, all around, very average, I think. I feel like Tenacity alone isn't gonna do anything. If you combine it with Unbreakable, yes, it will be very good. But solo, I feel like it's very much a bit of a letdown perk as well. So I will put this guy up there in C tier next to Lori and David. Next up, we got Kate. Now, Kate's strategic perks, we got Windows of Opportunity, Boil Over, and Dance With Me. Windows is an absolute solid S tier perk, 10 out of 10. Boil Over, decent perk, you can use it alone, it's not gonna be that bad. However, if you're playing Survive with friends and your friend has Breakout, it's gonna work even better. Dance With Me works well with Quick and Quiet, but solo you can still function with it. So I guess I will put her up there in S tier next to Dwight and Meg. Next up, we got Adam. Now, Adam's perks are Deliverance, Autodidact, and Diversion. Autodidact is probably the weakest perk of them all. Deliverance actually a very good perk unless you get chased and hooked first, then it's kind of useless. Diversion is honestly a fun perk to use, absolutely insane, but I think this guy deserves a spot up there in A tier. Next up, we got Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
Next up, we got Jay. Now, Jay's strategic perks consist of Head On, Solidarity, and Poised. Realistically, the best perk she has is Head On. Again, Head On is a perk that really works well with Quick and Quiet. Alone though, you can definitely still use it alone, it won't really do much, it'll just be slightly annoying to actually get it working. But all around, decent 9 out of 10. Poise on the other hand, kind of useless. Solidarity makes it so whenever you heal a survivor and heal them fully, you get 50% of yourself already healed. Which is okay, but nothing too crazy, so I'm gonna put Jane up there in B tier. Next up, we got Ash. Now, Ash's strategic perks consist of Metal of Man, Buckle Up, and Flip Flop. Flip Flop works beautifully well with Unbreakable. Alone, it really is just a little bit of a letdown perk in my opinion. It's really not that good alone. Metal of Man on the other hand though works amazingly good. You will need to pair it up with a medkit or something to heal yourself, because 99% of the times you're playing solo survivor, the randoms are not gonna heal you. And Buckle Up is also a little bit of an average perk. So with all that said, I think I'm gonna put this guy up there in C tier. Next up, we got Nancy. Nancy's strategic perks consist of Better Together, Fixated, and Inner Strength. Inner Strength and Fixated are actually very good perks that they actually do well solo. Better Together, little bit of an average perk that one is, in my opinion. That's probably the worst one she has, but all around, I do feel like she deserves a spot up there in S tier. Next up, we got Steve.
Ahoy, ladies!
Next up, we got Yui. Now, Yui's strategic perks consist of Lucky Break, Breakout, and Any Means Necessary. To be honest, she has incredibly good strong teachable perks. I feel like all of them will do very well solo. So, there's really nothing else to say. I'm just gonna put her straight up in S tier. Next up, we got Zarina. Now, Zarina's strategic perks consist of Off the Record, Red Herring, and For the People. Realistically, Off the Record is a S tier perk in itself. It works beautifully well even alone. Red Herring is probably the worst perk she has. I feel like it's it works alone, but it's kind of useless. For the people though, it's actually a very decent perk. However, you will need a medkit to heal yourself back up fully to a health state. So because of that, I feel like A tier is where she belongs. Next up, we got Cheryl. Now, Cheryl's 3 teachable perks are Repressed Alliance, Blood Pact, and Soul Guard. Now, Soul Guard works beautifully well with Unbreakable. Alone, I feel like it's a little bit of a letdown perk. Repressed Alliance though, decently strong perk. You can use it alone, it's not gonna be that bad. It's not super strong or anything, but it's decent. So all around, I do feel like her perks are good if you combine them with other perks. However, solo, I feel like they do lack a lot of potential. So I feel like I'm gonna put this girl up there in B tier. Next up, we got Felix. Now, Felix 3 teachable perks consist of Build to Last, Desperate Measures, and Visionary. Visionary is probably the most useless perk of all of them. It's really not that great. Build to Last is very good if you're using an item. That's mainly the only time you can actually use the perk. Desperate Measures is okay. So because of that, I feel like C tier is where this guy is going to go. Next up, we got Elodie. Elodie's 3 super perks consist of Power Struggle, Deception, and Appraisal. Power Struggle will mainly only work if you have Unbreakable combined with Flip Flop. It will work beautifully. However, if you're playing it alone, realistically, it's gonna be very difficult to actually get use of it. So it's kind of gonna be a letdown there. Appraisal usually works well with plunders, but even if you don't use plunders, you can still use the perk. You're still gonna get the value from it. So around not too bad, I guess. Basically, you can search the same chest multiple times. For Deception is probably the best perk that she currently has. All around not bad. It basically tricks the killer into thinking that you went in a locker, but in reality you didn't. So because of that, I would have put her up there in B tier. Next up, we got Yun. Now, Yun's teachable perks consist of Smash Hit, Fast Track, and Self-Preservation. Smash Hit alone is very good actually. It basically makes it so when you stun the killer, you get a 50% haste status effect for I think 3 or 5 seconds. Self-preservation is kind of useless. Fast Track on the other hand is another, I guess, average perk you would say. So I guess with all of that said, I do feel like her perks aren't that bad, so I'll put her up there in A tier. Next up, we got Jill. Now, Jill's strategic perks consist of Blast Mine, Counterforce, and Resurgence. Resurgence and Counterforce are kind of meh. Counterforce is absolutely useless. I'm pretty sure it just makes it so your cleanse totem like 20% faster. Absolutely horrendous. Resurgence, on the other hand, grants you 70% healing progress after you were unhooked, which is good if you want to immediately heal fast and go straight back to hold it M1. Decent perk, you can use it alone, but I feel like the best perk she has is Blast Mine. Blast Mine, you can definitely use it alone. Very decent perk. So because of that, I will put her up there in B tier. Next up, we got Leon. Now, Leon's 3 teachable perks consist of Flashbang, Bite the Bullet, and Rookie Spirit. Rookie Spirit is the most useless one out of all of those. Really nothing much to say about that. Flashbang is actually a very strong perk, to be honest. It's not the strongest perk, but it's very decent. It can annoy the killer. It can actually be very fun to use. Bite the Bullet is also a very decent perk. It basically makes it so whenever you're healing a survivor, their ground supply will be reduced by 100%. So because of that, I feel like A tier is where this guy is going to go. Next up, we got Michaela. Next up, we got Yona. Next up, we got Yoichi. Now, Yoshi's teachable perks consist of Parental Guidance, Empathy Connection, and Boom Dark Theory. Boom Dark Theory basically makes it so whenever you or a fellow survivor is in the radius, it grants you 2% haste, which is alright, but it's not really gonna help you out that much. The rest of his perks aren't really that great either, to be quite frankly honest. So because of that, I feel like I will put this guy up there in C tier. Next up, we got Haddie. Now, Haddie's teachable perks consist of Inner Focus, Overzealous, and Residual Manifest. Residual Manifest is absolutely a god tier perk. I use it in my favorite flashlight builds all the time. It absolutely is amazing. Overzealous is an alright perk. Whenever you cleanse a totem, it grants you I think like a 6% repair speed, or if you cleanse a hex, I think it's 10%, I'm pretty sure. which is alright, but you do lose the effects if you get injured. And Inner Focus really isn't that good of a perk either. I feel like it's a little bit of a letdown. So because of that, I feel like B tier is where she is going to go. Next up, we got Ada. Ada's super perks consist of Wire Trap, Reactive Healing, and Low Profile. To be honest, the best perk she has is Wire Trap in my opinion. The rest is little bit average. You're not gonna really use them that often, and even if you do, they will work solo. You don't really need to combine it with any other perks. However, there are better perks to use than that. They're gonna be kind of useless. So because of that, I feel like B tier is where she belongs as well. Next up, we got Rebecca. Now Rebecca's super perks consist of Hyper Focus, Reassurance, and Better Than You. Reassurance is an absolutely god tier perk. It's actually very useful, especially against the camping killer. It works very well. Hyper Focus can also actually be very good. You can both use these perks solo, so you will actually benefit from them if you use them solo. You don't really need to combine them with any other perks or anything. Not bad. Better Than You can also use it solo, but it's not really that good of a perk, but it's not that bad as well. Slightly average. So because of that, I feel like Rebecca belongs in A tier. Next up, we got Victoria. Next up, we got Talita. Next up, we got Renato. Next up, we got Gabriel. Kaboom. Next up, we got Nick. Now, Nick's three super perks consist of Plot Twist, Dramatology, and Scene Partner. To be honest, Plot Twist and Dramatology are actually very good perks. Dramatology is mainly a lot luck based, but you can use all of his perks alone. Even Scene Partner works very good. I feel like S tier is where this guy belongs. Next up, we got Ellen. Next up, we got Alan. Next up, we got Sable. Perfect. Next up, we got Aestri. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Not quite sure, but their super perks consist of Bardic Inspiration, Minute Illusion, and Still Sight. Bardic Inspiration is by far the best one they have. It's honestly amazing. It's quite funny. Mirror Illusion is also very good. Still Sight is probably the worst one they have, but all around very decent. So because of that, I feel like A tier is where they are going to go. Next up, we got Lara. Next up, we got Trevor. Now, Trevor's super perks consist of Exultation, Eyes of Belmont, and Moment of Glory. To be honest, you can use his perks solo apart from Eyes of Belmont. I feel like it's kind of pointless if you use that solo. His perks are slightly average, I guess. So because of that, I feel like C tier is where this guy belongs. Last but not least, we got Terry. Now, Terry's super perks consist of Shoulder the Burden, Clean Break, and Invocation Treacherous Crows. To be honest, Clean Break is actually a very good perk, and even Shoulder the Burden. Shoulder the Burden is actually very useful. You can use it solo, doesn't really matter, especially if your teammate is getting tunneled and you can take one hook stick for him, which grants him a little bit better odds of surviving. Clean Break basically makes it so whenever you heal a survivor, you get the option and you become broken for a while and then you get instantly healed. Honestly, not that bad. However, Invocation Treacherous Crows is utterly useless. So, due to that, I feel like B tier is where she belongs. Anyways, this is my ChatGPT perk purist tier list. Some of you are gonna agree with me, some of you are gonna disagree with me. That's always how a tier list goes. Everyone has their own opinion, which is perfectly fine. But anyways, with that said, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good night, guys.